Rome gained and left behind, and with it the pilgrims who are now repairing to their own homes again, each with his scallop shell and staff, and soliciting alms for the love of God. We come, by a fair country, to the falls of Terni, where the whole Velino River dashes headlong from a rocky height, amidst shining spray and rainbows. Perugia, strongly fortified by art and nature, on a lofty eminence, rising abruptly from the plain where purple mountains mingle with the distant sky, is glowing, on its market day, with radiant colors. They set off its somber but rich Gothic buildings admirably. The pavement of its marketplace is strewn with country goods. All along the steep hill leading from the town, under the town wall, there is a noisy fair of calves, lambs, pigs, horses, mules, and oxen. Fowls, geese, and turkeys flutter vigorously among their very hoofs, and buyers, sellers, and spectators, clustering everywhere, block up the road as we come shouting down upon them. Suddenly, there is a ringing sound among our horses. The driver stops them. Sinking in his saddle and casting up his eyes to heaven, he delivers this apostrophe, "O Jove omnipotent, here is a horse has lost his shoe." Notwithstanding the tremendous nature of this accident, and the utterly forlorn look and gesture, impossible in anyone but an Italian vetturino, with which it is announced, it is not long in being repaired by a mortal farrier, by whose assistance we reach Castiglione the same night, and Arezzo next day. Mass is, of course, performing in its fine cathedral, where the sun shines in among the clustered pillars, through rich stained-glass windows, half revealing, half concealing the kneeling figures on the pavement, and striking out paths of spotted light in the long aisles. But how much beauty of another kind is here, when, on a fair clear morning, we look, from the summit of a hill, on Florence. See where it lies before us in a sun-lighted valley, bright with the winding Arno and shut in by swelling hills, its domes and towers and palaces rising from the rich country in a glittering heap and shining in the sun like gold. Magnificently stern and somber are the streets of beautiful Florence, and the strong old piles of building make such heaps of shadow, on the ground and in the river, that there is another and a different city of rich forms and fancies, always lying at our feet. Prodigious palaces, constructed for defense, with small distrustful windows heavily barred, and walls of great thickness formed of huge masses of rough stone, frown, in their old sulky state, on every street. In the midst of the city, in the piazza of the Grand Duke, adorned with beautiful statues and the Fountain of Neptune, rises the Palazzo Vecchio, with its enormous overhanging battlements, and the great tower that watches over the whole town. In its courtyard, worthy of the castle of Otranto in its ponderous gloom, is a massive staircase that the heaviest wagon and the stoutest team of horses might be driven up. Within it is a great saloon, faded and tarnished in its stately decorations, and moldering by grains, but recording yet, in pictures on its walls, the triumphs of the Medici and the wars of the old Florentine people. The prison is hard by, in an adjacent courtyard of the building, a foul and dismal place where some men are shut up close in small cells like ovens, and where others look through bars and beg, where some are playing draughts and some are talking to their friends, who smoke the while to purify the air, and some are buying wine and fruit of women vendors, and all are squalid, dirty, and vile. To look at, they are merry enough, signor, says the jailer. They are all blood-stained here, he adds, indicating with his hand 3/4 of the whole building. Before the hour is out, an old man, 80 years of age, quarreling over a bargain with a young girl of 17, stabs her dead in the marketplace full of bright flowers, and is brought in prisoner to swell the number. Among the 4 old bridges that span the river, the Ponte Vecchio, that bridge which is covered with the shops of jewelers and goldsmiths, is a most enchanting feature in the scene. The space of one house in the center being left open, the view beyond is shown as in a frame, and that precious glimpse of sky and water and rich buildings, shining so quietly among the huddled roofs and gables on the bridge, is exquisite. Above it, the gallery of the Grand Duke crosses the river. It was built to connect the 2 great palaces by a secret passage, and it takes its jealous course among the streets and houses, with true despotism, going where it lists and spurning every obstacle away before it. The Grand Duke has a worthier secret passage through the streets, in his black robe and hood, as a member of the Compagnia della Misericordia, which brotherhood includes all ranks of men. If an accident take place, their office is to raise the sufferer and bear him tenderly to the hospital. If a fire break out, it is one of their functions to repair to the spot and render their assistance and protection. It is also among their commonest offices to attend and console the sick, and they neither receive money, nor eat, nor drink in any house they visit for this purpose. Those who are on duty for the time are all called together on a moment's notice by the tolling of the great bell of the tower, and it is said that the Grand Duke has been seen, at this sound, to rise from his seat at table and quietly withdraw to attend the summons. In this other large piazza, where an irregular kind of market is held, and stores of old iron and other small merchandise are set out on stalls, or scattered on the pavement, are grouped together. The cathedral with its great dome, the beautiful Italian Gothic tower, the campanile, and the baptistry with its wrought bronze doors. And here, a small untrodden square in the pavement, is the stone of Dante, where, so runs the story, he was used to bring his stool and sit in contemplation. I wonder was he ever, in his bitter exile, withheld from cursing the very stones in the streets of Florence the ungrateful, by any kind remembrance of this old musing place, and its association with gentle thoughts of little Beatrice. The Chapel of the Medici, the good and bad angels of Florence. The Church of Santa Croce where Michelangelo lies buried, and where every stone in the cloisters is eloquent on great men's deaths. Innumerable churches, often masses of unfinished heavy brickwork externally, but solemn and serene within, arrest our lingering steps in strolling through the city. In keeping with the tombs among the cloisters is the Museum of Natural History, famous through the world for its preparations in wax, beginning with models of leaves, seeds, plants, inferior animals, and gradually ascending, through separate organs of the human frame, up to the whole structure of that wonderful creation, exquisitely presented, as in recent death. Few admonitions of our frail mortality can be more solemn and more sad, or strike so home upon the heart, as the counterfeits of youth and beauty that are lying there, upon their beds, in their last sleep. Beyond the walls, the whole sweet valley of the Arno, the convent at Fiesole, the Tower of Galileo, Boccaccio's house, old villas and retreats. Innumerable spots of interest, all glowing in a landscape of surpassing beauty steeped in the richest light, are spread before us. Returning from so much brightness, how solemn and how grand the streets again, with their great, dark, mournful palaces and many legends, not of siege and war and might and iron hand alone, but of the triumphant growth of peaceful arts and sciences. What light is shed upon the world at this day, from amidst these rugged palaces of Florence? Here, open to all comers in their beautiful and calm retreats, the ancient sculptors are immortal, side by side with Michelangelo, Canova, Titian, Rembrandt, Raphael, poets, historians, philosophers, those illustrious men of history, beside whom its crowned heads and harnessed warriors show so poor and small, and are so soon forgotten. Here, the imperishable part of noble minds survives, placid and equal, when strongholds of assault and defense are overthrown, when the tyranny of the many, or the few, or both, is but a tale, when pride and power are so much cloistered dust. The fire within the stern streets, and among the massive palaces and towers, kindled by rays from heaven, is still burning brightly, when the flickering of war is extinguished and the household fires of generations have decayed. As thousands upon thousands of faces, rigid with the strife and passion of the hour, have faded out of the old squares and public haunts, while the nameless Florentine lady, preserved from oblivion by a painter's hand, yet lives on in enduring grace and youth. Let us look back on Florence while we may, and when its shining dome is seen no more, go traveling through cheerful Tuscany with a bright remembrance of it. For Italy will be the fairer for the recollection, the summertime being come, and Genoa and Milan and the Lake of Como lying far behind us, and we resting at Fado, a Swiss village near the awful rocks and mountains, the everlasting snows and roaring cataracts of the great Saint Gothard, hearing the Italian tongue for the last time on this journey. Let us part from Italy with all its miseries and wrongs affectionately, in our admiration of the beauties, natural and artificial, of which it is full to overflowing, and in our tenderness towards a people, naturally well-disposed and patient and sweet-tempered. Years of neglect, oppression, and misrule have been at work, to change their nature and reduce their spirit. Miserable jealousies, fomented by petty princes to whom union was destruction, and division strength have been a canker at their root of nationality, and have barbarized their language. But the good that was in them ever is in them yet, and a noble people may be, one day, raised up. From these ashes, let us entertain that hope, and let us not remember Italy the less regardfully, because, in every fragment of her fallen temples and every stone of her deserted palaces and prisons, she helps to inculcate the lesson that the wheel of time is rolling for an end, and that the world is, in all great essentials, better, gentler, more forbearing, and more hopeful as it rolls. The End. Printed by William Clowes and Sons, Limited, London and Beccles.